Welcome to the wonderful world of dodgy movies and TV. I am your host, Movie and TV Mistress, as always. This week I am reviewing a 1976 Roger Moore film you may not be aware of.
The name's Moore. Roger Moore.
So, it's got a few different titles. It's an Italian film from 1976. When you look it up on the internet, on certain sites like IMDb or Wikipedia, it comes up as Street People, but it's known as The Sicilian Cross and The Executors. Another title for it would be kind of a Persuaders film. So let's get to it, shall we? This film stars Roger Moore, as I've mentioned.
I think you'll find it's Sir Roger Moore.
Yeah, sadly, he is passed, but we do still miss him, and he was hilarious. It also stars Stacy Keach. The other actors are all Italian, and I am very bad at Italian names, so bear with me a moment while I bring up some names here. It's directed by, I can't say this name. I think it's like Maurizio Lucidi? Or Mario Lucidi, but it's got Z in it, so I think it's Maurizio Lucidi. It's written by, the screenplay is written by the writer of Shaft and The French Connection,
Shaft, baby!
Ernest Tidyman. That's his last name, Tidyman. It's not as cool as Shaft. Anyway.
Shaft, baby!
Anyway, so the reason you've probably never heard of this is it's an Italian film, as I've mentioned, so it probably had a limited release. Roger Moore, in his own biography...
Why don't you call me Rog?
Okay, Rog. He has said in the past that when he was filming this, he had no idea what it was about. And also, neither did Stacy Keach. I'm guessing at some point it made sense. It's a very hard film to follow, so let me try and explain it. Roger Moore plays Ulysses. Ulysses is an Anglo-Sicilian lawyer, for his uncle, who is a mob boss. He's not the head of the mob, but he's one of the many bosses. You know, like there's the Don and then there's the other ones below him. He's one of those below him. He wants to be in charge, but he's not. His old friend happens to be a bishop. They both grew up in Sicily. And at the start of the movie, the Sicilian Cross arrives, hence the other title for this film. I still don't know why it's called Street People. I can get the other two titles. I'll explain in a minute. So, a cross arrives, and lo and behold, hidden in the cross is some cocaine. Or heroin. Same diff, right? White powder. Bishop is furious, blames his best friend from childhood, who he knows is not a very nice person. So he goes and has a conversation with all the other mob bosses and the head of the mob. Ulysses calls his best mate, who's Stacy Keach, he refers to him as your lordship. This, just every time he did it, reminded me of Tony Curtis and Roger Moore in The Persuaders.
Your lordship.
I just felt like you might as well just call this Persuaders. Because these two guys are working behind the back, kind of the mafia. They're doing their own thing. Roger's not just a boring old lawyer / accountant type person for the mob. He's like a hitman. And he has a friend who happens to be a racing car driver. Very good driver. So much so that he's able to destroy a car in one single journey, which is hilarious. Best scene in the movie, this. So far, I'm getting it, but they keeps having these weird flashbacks to when the mob boss was a kid, and this tune just keeps playing. So, what does that have to do with this story? I'm getting to it. It'll get there in the end, I swear. Mob boss says he didn't do it, nothing to do with him. Needs help with the other mob bosses trying to find who did it. Ulysses goes out trying to find who does it and figures out who these three blokes are. They won't tell him who did it. People keep shooting and killing the people, so they don't find out who did it, but they kind of know. Turns out it's all been a run to be the head of the mob. So the mob boss, who's his uncle, wants to be in charge of the mob and has been trying to get up to the top, and this is how he does it. There's an ending. The ending involves the flashbacks. The bishop knows something about the mob boss's dark past when he was a child in Sicily, when Roger Moore's character was a small child in Sicily with his uncle who was a teenager. And this guy that happens to look a bit like Roger but is not Roger is walking away. And we just keep hearing this darn tune which is a very Italian thing that they do in movies. If you watch like spaghetti westerns, you always hear a weird tune that just keeps playing and you're going, why? So, it turns out that Ulysses wasn't aware that his uncle was a murderer from his teenage years, and that the bishop couldn't have even stopped him when they were kids at that point anyway. It's not said, it's basically inferred through visuals that the man who looks a bit like Roger with a moustache is Roger's dad. The woman that's crying is his mum. The teenage boy is his uncle. And the teenage boy killed his dad. When Ulysses discovers this at the end.
The name's Ulysses. Just Ulysses.
Yeah, he's not Bond, but you'd think that the advertising for this film would think that he was Bond. Anyway, so it's inferred that his uncle killed his dad, so at the end, he basically takes revenge for his dad, and realizing that his uncle is also just all behind this drugs in the cross. Anyway, it's a good film. It's a beautifully shot film. It's very funny, but it's played out in a very confusing way. It's not in your linear format. At the end of the film, I sat there for a good 10 minutes trying to work out, okay, so wait. And it, as I say, it's inferred through visuals that that's his dad. I'm assuming it's his dad. It's never actually blatantly said, and it's never blatantly said that the reason he was killed is because he left his uncle's sister, or his mum, basically. But it's inferred through visuals, so it's a show don't tell thing, which is great. You just have to actually understand what you're watching, and if you're just a passive viewer of this film, you're not going to get it. But you will enjoy some of the stunts, and some of the action, and Roger Moore with a shotgun, and a stunt that almost made me think of License to Kill before License to Kill. When you look at the artwork, there's different posters for this film, and one of the posters really plays up the 007 type thing, because Roger Moore at this point in 1976 was James Bond. One of the Italian posters is so raunchy that I wasn't sure if I could show it, but I'll show it right here. Just a quick flash. If you like Italian spaghetti westerns, you may like this. If you like mafia movies, you probably will like this. But be prepared to sit there and try and follow the plot and pay attention to who's who and what's going on, because it's a bit confusing at times. But like I said, I feel like this could have been a Persuaders movie. I feel like Stacy Keach's character, Charlie, is very much Tony Curtis's character, Danny Wilde, to Roger Moore's Lord Sinclair, because I feel like Ulysses is basically Lord Sinclair. It's got the same sort of relationship, comedy between them, and they're the best thing in this film, both of them. Whenever they're on screen together, I'm laughing. The rest of the time I'm kind of going, right, give me a second. Who is this person again? Please, if you ever get a chance, and I do know that it is available as a free stream film on one of the many channels on Roku. So I'm sure if you look on the internet, you will find it. Be careful though, it could be an Italian dub, so just check. But I highly recommend it. It is a good film. It's not as dodgy as I was expecting from the cover that came with it, because Stacy Keach looks ridiculous in this poster. But I really enjoyed it, and I'm intrigued to try and find some other random Roger Moore films. I mean, I've seen Bullseye. I grew up with that. That was funny, but I know it's bad. And so did they. So did Michael Winner when he directed it. Well, next week is the start of February. And for February, I will be reviewing random vampire films. So look forward to that. Vampires for Valentine's Day. VV, you know. Just saying. Tune in next week for a random vampire film. It will be a British one, the first one. So please check that out, and continue to watch my videos. Comment down below if you can. Give me a thumbs up. I would really appreciate any comments or feedback at all. Just put them on either on YouTube, on my Twitter account, or on my Facebook page. Thanks for watching. Do check out the Executors, Street People, or the Sicilian Cross. And I will see you all again next week with a vampire film, as I've said. And remember what I always say, folks. There's a lot of dodgy films out there. And I like watching dodgy films. And, you know, I watch most of them anyway. Bye!
Shaft, baby!